This time we will start built-in annotations. We just covered reflection. We have seen annotations in our reflection practice as well. First, we will see some built-in annotations like at override, deprecated, suppress warnings, functional interface like that. Then we will see custom annotations. So annotations are meta tags that we attach to Java elements, and those elements can be our classes, methods, fields, parameters. They don't directly change what the code does, but they provide information that tools like our Spring framework or compilers and frameworks use to generate code, enforce some rules, or configure behavior. So, what exactly is annotation? An annotation is a form of metadata, data about data. It provides supplementary information about a program element without being part of the program's logic. So we can think of this one like labels on a package. The label doesn't change what's inside the box, but it tells the postal service how to handle it. Fragile, priority, return address, like that. Similarly, annotations tell the compiler or any framework or runtime how to treat the annotated element. So first let's see at override. We have seen this one so much. And this is just simple annotation that tells our compiler that I am overriding one parent method and you should verify that this name is correct. So without at override, our code compiles and runs identically, but with it, our compiler verifies that we are actually overriding one method, catching typos or errors before runtime. Now, where annotations can appear? Annotations can be placed on virtually any Java declaration, class interface, okay, at entity, public user, at entity, method, at override, field, at non-null, like that, constructor, at inject, parameter, at path variable, local variable. We have discussed this file, right, in our packages video. In this chapter, we will see some important built-in annotations, okay. So overall, our annotations are some instructions to something other than the runtime. And those instructions can be read by our compiler, any framework, or any documentation tool. Based on those annotations, they can generate some code, okay, and perform some actions like that. Now, how annotations are processed? Annotations are processed at different stages depending on their configuration. So we have to understand this life cycle. First is, which is also stage one, source retention. Compile time only. Okay. The compiler reads the annotation, acts on it, then discards it. The annotation doesn't exist in the compile.class file, something like at override. Okay. The compiler checks the override is valid, then the annotation is removed. So this annotation existed only long enough for the compiler to do its job, and then after that, it's gone. Now, stage two is class loading, class retention. The annotation is stored in our .class file, but isn't available at runtime via reflection, used by bytecode tools and build-time processors. So it is stored in our .class file, but it is not available at runtime via reflection. This one is important. And this is the default retention. If none is specified, we don't encounter this one so much. Now stage 3 is runtime. Runtime retention. This one is important. The annotation is preserved in our .class file and available via reflection at runtime. This is what frameworks like Spring and JUnit use. So we have seen for Spring in our reflection practice, like we have not ran Spring framework, but we have seen similar practice. Example, at test, JUnit reads this at runtime to discover test methods. Like we discover at component and at autowired here, these two annotations, this one and this one, using that. So similarly, our frameworks can discover some annotations and do some things. or they can generate code basically. So most annotations we encounter in frameworks use runtime retention because our frameworks need to read them while the program is running. We can take one example for this. So this add test is built-in runtime retention. Suppose this one is only for source retention. Then our JUnit could not find this one at runtime, and then our JUnit can perform its actions. Now let's see our first built-in annotation, which is at override. The most commonly used annotation. It tells the compiler that a method is intended to override a method from a superclass or implemented an interface method. We can see this one. So without override, compiles silently, creates new method, wrong parameter type. Here we have object, here we have user. So if you change parameters type, then basically you are creating a new method. With at override, compiler error. So we can always use at override. Now next thing is at deprecated, marks an element as outdated. It still works, but developers should use an alternative. The compiler generates a warning when deprecated elements are used. So let's say we have this class legacy service and we mark this method as deprecated. And if we try to use this method, then we will get one warning in compilation phase, but our compilation phase will succeed. This is the important thing. Okay, and let's create one object. Legacy service. And now if we try to call dot process, then we will get is deprecated. Then you can see we got one warning here. And if we try to recompile with this one, then now you can see we got exact position where we are getting this warning. We have some ways and we can suppress this warning. We are calling this one, this deprecated method from our main method. So here we can put one another annotation that is suppress warnings deprecation. So now you can see we don't have any warning. And if we recompile this one, okay, we can run this one. All right. So when another developer uses the deprecated method, then compiler warning process is deprecated. So we got some enhanced attributes in Java 9. Like we can also mention this one for removal equals to true. Since version when the deprecation was introduced, okay, documentation only. For removal, if true, element will be removed in a future version. Generates a stronger warning. Now our next annotation is at SuppressWarnings, tells the compiler to suppress specific warnings. Use it when we have concisely decided to accept a warning situation. We have here some forms like unchecked, deprecation, unused, row types. Unchecked is for generic typecast that can be verified at runtime. Deprecation, using deprecated API intentionally. Unused, unused variables, row types, using row types without generic parameters. So public static, and we are returning list of strings. Let's say get names, get field names. Now let's create one row type array list without any types. So we can name this one row list equals to new array list. And then now we can add some things here, some strings basically. Let's say Alice. So instead of returning directly row list, what we can do, we can cast this one, right? String list equals to, now we can return this one, okay. So we know that from our generics chapters that generics will not exist at runtime. Our compiler will remove these things. And here we are casting these, right? So at compile time, our compiler cannot verify that our this row list will actually contain only strings. because at runtime we can add another types as well. So that's why we are getting here one warning, that is unchecked cast. We can suppress this warning here, but first we can see what we will get if we call this one. And now if we compile directly, then we will get some warnings. And if we compile like that, so we compiled here with deprecation, but we have to compile with unchecked, right? So now you can see we have 4 warnings, 3 from here and 1 from here. This one is unchecked cast, and this one is unchecked call to add E. So if we don't provide any information like what kind of warnings we are looking for, we can directly compile with this one. And this time we will get all kind of warnings. Unchecked cast, this one as well, found row type. Now, if we have to suppress any particular warning, then we can do that. So we know that this one is unchecked cast, right? We can suppress this one, unchecked. Now we will not get any warning from this line, but we will get other warnings. These are different type, like row type, okay? And if we compile this one again, this time we got 5 warnings instead of 6. We can suppress all these, and how we can do that? So instead of using here, we can use this annotation on this method, unchecked. And if we have to pass here multiple annotations, then we can do that. This one is another thing, like this one is redundant because we can return directly this one, okay? This one is IDE suggestion, not any warning. So we can compile this without any warning, and we can run this one as well, okay? So we can put this annotation on class as well. Don't suppress blindly, should be conscious, documented decision. Now next one is add functional interface. We have seen this one. Declares that an interface is intended to be functional interface, exactly one abstract method. The compiler verifies this constraint. This was covered in detail in our functional programming section, okay? Next one is safevarargs. Suppresses warnings about potentially unsafe operations with varargs and generics applied to methods that are final, static, or private. They can be overridden. Okay. Static, we have some generics here. This annotation asserts that the method does not do anything unsafe with the varargs array, like storing it in a field of a different type. Only use it when we have verified the implementation is safe. Okay, so why we got this warning here? Because this one is dynamic size. This one is one syntax, and here we can get multiple elements. We don't know the size, we don't know how many will come. So our Java creates an array internally, and we are also using here generics array. So these generics arrays have type safety issues due to our type erasure concept. So here we are telling our compiler that whatever elements we will get here, those will be of same type. Now next thing is meta-annotations. So these annotations are annotations that annotate other annotations. They control how our annotation behaves. First one is at retention, and we have seen this one here. Okay, at retention, at target, we will see at interface later. We have here different types, so or different forms. So retention policy dot source, this is only for compile time, discarded after. Then we have retention policy dot class, stored in dot class, not at runtime. This one will be default one. Then we have retention policy dot runtime, available at runtime via reflection. Mostly we will use this. Now next one is at target. Where can the annotation be placed? So if we put here method, then only on methods, field, only on fields, type on classes, interfaces, enums. We can also provide multiple values, multiple targets, right? So you can see we have done something here. Element.type field. So we put this auto wire on one field here. But if we try to put this one here, now we will get one error here, not applicable to type. Okay, and this one is compiler error. If we compile this one, all element type values, type like classes, interfaces, enums, records, fields, instance, or static, then method, then parameter, constructor, annotation type, other annotations, meta-annotations. Okay. Now we have next one, which is add documented, include in Java doc. This annotation appears in generative documentation. Okay, then we have add inherited, do subclass is inherited. So if we put this one on our custom annotation, then it will be passed down to our subclasses. So we can check this one. If we come here, we can remove this one. Also, we can remove this one. We can extend not thread user repository. Okay. And on this annotation, we can put this one inherited. All right. Now, when we put this add component annotation on any class, then this annotation will be passed down to its subclasses as well. Now we have some annotations that usually we see in frameworks. First one is add test. So we see this one in JUnit, add component in Spring, AutoWired in Spring, entity in JPA or Hibernate, get mapping in Spring Web, and at not null, be invalidation. So all of these work because of the same mechanism, runtime retention, annotations processed via reflection. Okay. Then we have quick summary and we can move forward with our next chapter, which is custom annotations.